Hey everybody, welcome back. James here again with you with the new setup I got going on. Hopefully you like it, but I have some very interesting topics that I want to touch on in this video, and I hope you guys enjoy it. If so, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned in for the video. Let's get into it. Alrighty, thanks for staying tuned in. I'm going to get into today's video. So what I'm going to talk about today is your Airgun Scope Zero. So get your scope mounted, get everything set up, get some pellets downrange, or any projectile. It doesn't have to be an air gun, but you get it zeroed at a certain distance, you know, for instance 25 or 50 yards. Well, the zero that you're zeroing to is your second zero, most likely. Dry erase board here to show you exactly what I'm talking about. So, show you here. So here's your bore, and your optic is up here, where your optic goes in a straight line to your point of aim. A lot of people don't know that. Your projectile comes out of your bore and goes up above your line of sight and back down, hence called trajectory. Now, the thing about this trajectory is the heavier the projectile, the more of an arc it's going to have. The lighter the projectile, in theory, if it's the same velocity, would have more of a straighter trajectory. So, why does this matter? Well, if you're out in the field hunting or pesting or whatever, and you don't know the exact yardage of the target you're aiming at or trying to hit, you could possibly miss. I mean, that's one of the reasons you can miss, is because you don't have your scope zeroed to that distance, or you don't calculate what you need to counter for that distance. So again, you know, your projectile comes up at line of sight, which for a pellet, the arc is so critical to trajectory because of how the velocity is of the pellet. The velocity is what causes the trajectory to be either curved or straighter, flatter. So as an example, I'll be using one of my PCPs and showing you, and it's regulated at 16 foot-pounds of energy at 25 yard zero and closer. So I know for a fact that there's a zero closer than where I dialed it into, so it's above the line of sight, and here's 25 yards. And this is super crucial, again, like I said, because if your target is close range, you know, say closer than your first zero here, which could be anywhere from 10 to 15 yards, you could possibly miss if you directly aimed your line of sight on it, moved your reticle, tilted your rifle down or whatever you're shooting. Your projectile could go below it or over it. So that's what I'm going to show you guys today in this video, for the best possible accuracy on target, you know, pesting or hunting in the field, to make sure you know your first and second zero. And again, most of you already sighted in for your second zero. You know, that's what you calculate for, you know, 25 or 50 yards. That's your zero at your, where your scope's set at now, for instance, which most of us already have our stuff sighted in and ready to go, but you don't know what that first one is. And if you do, you know, you're well off. especially if you know that there's a target close range, your chance of missing is a lot less than somebody that doesn't know that there's a first zero here. So I'm going to go ahead and show you a perfect example. My yardage is 25 yards. That's my second zero. And then we'll test for the first zero and show you how to do that. Diana Stormrider 22 cal Gen 2. Regulated 16 foot-pounds of energy with the Craftsman Premier Hollow Point 14.3 grain at 25 yards. Here's the 25 yard zero, right on the money. I mean, you can't get much better than that. So now, as a rule of thumb, I'm going to cut this distance in half, about 12 yards or so. And that's usually right around the area where the first zero's at, maybe a little less, but we'll see. Well, there you guys go. I called it on that one. So again, that was the 25 yard. There was the 12 yard. So it's safe to say that between 12 and 25, I'm pretty zeroed out. I'm pretty flat. But coming up to that point would be the difference of the scope height. And then past 25 yards, it'll start to drop big time because these pellets are not going that fast hardly at all. Okay everybody, just to do a little recap, again, this is my Diana Stormrider 22 cal, shooting 16 foot-pounds of energy at the muzzle, 14.3 grain pellets. So yeah, it's going awfully slow. I'm getting a lot of shots though out of it, and it really shows on my target here what my zeros are. And I'm going to go over that again real quick, and then I'll let you guys go, and I appreciate you watching. So I hope you guys test this out too. So as you see, my first shot was dead on the money at 25 yards, and I moved my target back at 12 yards, and it was still right there. It's still pretty flat shooting. The reason why my pole, my point of impact's a little to the right is because my target was to the left of me more than it was farther away. That's another thing I've made a video on, was about the angles of the target and getting your angle of your optic and your shoulders and everything right. I made past videos on that, but this video I just wanted to hit on for you guys to get out and test your first and second zero of your optics to make sure that you're always hitting where you expect to hit, and if something happens, hopefully you know the reason why. You know, again, like I said, 25 yard shot was dead on the money, and then 12 yard shot was right there. So not much of a difference, half of a pellet hole. I'll be okay with that. Shooting at a small game target or pest within 25 yards or less. And again, like I mentioned, what really is the big kicker here is your scope ring height to your bore. So the center of your barrel to the center of your scope, that is your line of sight all the way down, and your scope is in a straight line, whereas your trajectory meets up to your line of sight from your projectile. So as always guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I had fun making it, and I wanted to test this to see, you know, with this low power of regulated PCP, where my first and second zero was. Even though I knew my second zero was 25 yards, I wanted to check my first zero. That way I know when I'm out in the field where exactly do I need to aim, you know, at close range. Can I aim right on, or do I need to counter that, whether I need to move up, move my reticle up, or move my reticle down. And as you can see, within 12 to 25 yards, I'm spot on, and closer than that, I'd probably have to move my reticle up higher so that my trajectory meets up with that point. And of course, farther range, you always have to, you know, counter that also. But again, I just wanted to share this with you guys. I hope you get something from this video. As always, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks again.